so this case also another case, and you can really see there are some genes very highly amplified, here. Next, if we look carefully at these genes using our software, these genes are the major genes are amplified. It's the RAS1, CDK4, and the MDM2 genes. They are very highly amplified, especially MDM. Next slide. When we run the RNA through our algorithm, as you can see, one striking really abnormalities. Of course, the algorithm call it as sarcoma, come up with the right diagnosis. But one of the striking really overexpression is the RAS1 and the MDM2 as expected. But RAS1 is really very high expressions. And as you know, there are RAS1 inhibitors frequently recommended for when you have translocations. But when you have gene amplification, you wonder about the relevance for the therapy. Next slide. And when we look at the mutations, if you look at the mutation here, you can see mutation in BRAF, JAK3, AKT1. But if you look at the variant allele frequency, it is around 5% in all these, or less than 5% variant allele frequency, which means this particular tumor is driven by the gene amplification. We saw it was outrageous gene amplifications, but at the same time, we see in this particular case a fusion of two genes located on chromosome 12. And, these two genes, the NUP107 and CYP83, next slide. So there's significant copy number that showing the fusion. Next slide, please. And this really, translocation and on chromosome 12 has been described in sarcoma, but not specific for a specific abnormalities. But the key things about this case, in my opinion, RAS1 amplification, and as well as actually the other mutations which might be relevant as well. So, Dr. Picora.
So this is a patient with a story of multiple recurrent sarcomas over a 7-8 year period, all in the right upper extremity, who now has progressed and broken through to now have systemic disease. And he did not receive much of any standard of care because of his preference. So he's now going to be treated with combination chemotherapy and pazopanib. What's really nice here, though, is that assuming if he has a response, great. If he does not have a response, or if he does what most people do, treated in that fashion, have a temporary response, we have multiple targets we can go after. And I think this highlights, at least in sarcoma, that first case, to have a person having gone through multiple standards of care and then experimental therapy with checkpoint inhibitors and a TKI, and now here chemotherapy and a TKI, that you actually have other choices. And so we're working with the local payers to line up this gentleman for these potential medications. And at least in our area, we've had the payers have been very amenable to work with us because sarcoma is so rare, and they understand there's never going to be a prospective trial to test this. So it's kind of like the Be the Match trial that we did before.